I did a Google search and I found me, right? And I scrolled down a little bit, and there's something called a link to academic software programs, or whatever they called it. It's now called Microsoft Imagine. So if you click on Microsoft Imagine, and again, there actually is a video in week 1 of this also. This is all of the software that we have available. There's tons of stuff in here. And some of it you may or may not use. Visio is a really great program project. Access, if you don't have it and you've got a class that needs it. So we have a lot of different programs that we can grab in here. So the first thing you need to do is click up there and click Sign In. Well, your sign in, you do not have a password yet. So, unless you have been in this system, and some of you have, some of you haven't, but if you've been in here before and you can't remember your password, you can use the forgot password. Your username is your Peru campus email address. That's what I put into the system when I did all 895 students today. It is that email address you use at campus. So if you haven't done any of that, and you've never been in here before, you can click on the Need to Request an Account, and this will actually say, if you've received a notice that an account has been created for you, which a lot of you got today, you put in your username. And that username, again, is your Peru State College, that hideous email address that we give you. You click Continue, and then you can actually create your own password. So it says, oh, nope, you don't really exist. But you can click through here. Now let me sign in really quickly, and I'll show you what it should look like after you sign in. So you have to go through that registration. If you have been in here before, you're fine. So, oh, it doesn't really look any different, does it? But I know that I want Windows 10, and notice over here I can click on Operating Systems. I want Windows 10. Now, that little purple line just tells me that I'm in the fancy, we made things so complicated. So, Windows 10 Education Program. So, Windows 10 Education is a version of Windows 10 designed for education, and it is actually the top level of Windows 10. It is above Professional and above Ultimate. It's got some additional features. For whatever reason, I think they just wanted to break you guys off. There's all different kinds of other ones. So, I'm assuming that most of you want English, not the United Kingdom version. And there's a question about, do I want the 32-bit or the 64-bit version of Windows? How many of you have your computer, so you're putting on a machine, do you have more than 4 gigabytes of RAM? Most of you do. If you do, then you are going to need or can use the 64-bit version. If you've got an old laptop, say like the pink one over there, you probably don't have more than 4 gigs, and you can actually check and see if you're running a 32-bit or a 64-bit operating system. And I'll show you how to do that really quickly. You cannot run one bigger than what you have. So if I have a 32-bit operating system on my computer, I can't install, even in VirtualBox, a 64-bit version. So I have to be either the same or less. So I'm going to recommend for almost everybody that what they really need is 64-bit. 32-bit's gone out of flavor, but if your laptop is 10 years old, still running Windows XP, you may need the 64-bit. So it's going to say, hey, I need to order this. Look at the price. Price seems really right. And it's going to hiccup at me again here in a little bit because it's going to say you're probably order. All right, so the important piece for this, nothing else is really valuable. Quite frankly, if you wanted to explore on these computers and in the back on the server, I've got a copy of Windows 10. You can find it everywhere in the web. Now, would I download it from anywhere else? Probably not, because who knows what else has been embedded. But you can find it. The only valuable piece to this whole thing is this product key right here. That product key is what allows you to activate that copy of Windows. That's the only valuable piece. And so is this a service that as soon as you're no longer a student, that copy goes away? No. So, for example, you make it through this class and you want to upgrade a laptop from Windows 8 at your parents' house and put Windows 10 on, you have a copy of it to do right here. That is a valid legal copy that you can own forever and ever as long as you don't lose that product key. So I'm going to click on the download link. And notice here's where I get to pick whether I have the 32 or the 64-bit. One significant difference, I will say, if you're out in the country and all you have is dial-up and it's really, really slow, the 32-bit is significantly smaller. And for this class, either version will actually work. So this one's 2 gigs, that one is 3 gigs. So on a slower connection, this can take some significant time to download. So just be aware of that. If you're doing it at home and you have 37 people sharing a connection at some apartment, probably going to take a while. If you have the option to download it somewhere where you're plugged in versus wireless, it's probably quicker also. That's a pretty big download. So if you're downloading it and you don't have your own computer, you're not going to use your own computer, you can actually grab a copy here in the lab, and I will show you where to grab that at here in just a second, okay? If you're going to do it on your own computer, go here, go through these steps, and download. And grab that, and we'll see where that one lands. So let me come back out of here. All right, let me pause for just a second. All right. So to install VirtualBox, so the other piece of this, I'm going to open up a new tab or a new window. And I'm going to go to virtualbox.org, I believe it is. And I end up here. So VirtualBox, if you can't remember the .org, you search for it, you'll end up at VirtualBox. So this is a free program that allows us to do virtual operating systems on one operating system. So this gives us a lot of power. It's free. Keyword free. We like free. So it's pretty hard to do. If you click the giant blue download VirtualBox button, it's nearly foolproof. Here's the only place where it can go a little different. Has anybody in my live class got a Mac that they're going to do this on? Oh, you crazy fools. All right, so yours is going to be slightly different. But what you'll notice is VirtualBox has several different platforms. So at the very top up here, if you're on a Windows PC, there is one for Windows. If you're on a Mac, there's one for Mac. If any of you are running Unix of any kind or a Linux distribution, you can actually click there. So I'm going to click on the Windows one because I don't have a Mac hooked up to show you, but it works very, very similarly. So I clicked on it. Now down at the bottom, it says, hey, it's downloading. And it's a fairly decent sized file. It's about 100 megs. So again, it's going to download and install. That's not that tough to do. Here's the best part for you guys. You can actually click cancel. Well, I'm going to show you. If you're in my live lab, you can actually click cancel because it's already installed on every machine in here, I think. If you do not have it, then we'll go through that. Does anybody, when they start their computer and they hit the Windows key and start typing VirtualBox, not have VirtualBox pop up? So follow along with me. So if you're in the online section, you probably don't have this already, but I hit the Windows key and I type virtual, and I end up with Oracle VirtualBox. I click on it, and I should have a screen that looks like this eventually. My computer's a little slow up here, so hang on a second. So you should end up with something that looks like this. Does everybody in class live have that? If you don't, then we'll have to install it on your computer. If you do, life is great. So this is what VirtualBox looks like when I start it up. except you won't already have the Windows 10 piece installed. So if you already have it, we don't need to re-download it and reinstall it. There are a few machines in here because we've been upgrading and swapping machines around that may not have it. So just for that. So if you're taking this online, you're doing this on your own computer, you probably don't have that at all, and I will lead you through how easy it is to install this operating system, this VirtualBox. So hang on a second, let me move this out of the way. All right, I have 2 minutes left on that, and then I will install VirtualBox and show you how easy that is. I did have several people turn in only VirtualBox. The assignment is to install VirtualBox, then install Windows inside of that. So you probably got a note saying, hey, you need to finish your installation if you got to this point. There are also some videos in week 1 to make sure you look at. Correct. The project says to use Windows 8. We're going to use Windows 10. Everything will work exactly the same. The reason for that is Windows 8 is now obsolete. It is gone from the vernacular, no support. Windows XP has more support now on Windows 7 than Windows 8. So Microsoft said we're going to get rid of it. When the time the book was published originally, because we've always got that significant lag, the new edition isn't out until at some point in February, supposedly. We'll see. 1 minute left. So if any of you decide to become gazillionaires in the internet stock market building or something, I could use a faster internet connection here in the lab. Just, throwing that out there. Longest 1 minute left ever, and I'll show you how to install this. So again, there are a few computers tucked around that may not have this, and again, on your own, you'll need to download and install this. I need the Jeopardy soundtrack so we can go 25 seconds. Hopefully that's not like the last 20 seconds of a football game. 8, 7. Back up. Sadly. Close. All right, so it says it's downloaded, and I'm going to see which window it pops up in. Maybe it's going to open. Close thing. Closing ever so slowly. Some point, it may actually pop up and start installing. All right. So it popped up, and of course it's in the wrong window, so let me see if I can get it slid over here in just a second. All right, so welcome to the Install Wizard. This is going to be the easiest program you've ever installed in your life. I'm going to click Next. Going to click Next again. Next again. Yes. Install. It'll pop up with a warning. So if you're installing this in the lab, you get the administrative warning. So if any of you get that and we need to install, it's pretty simple. And I will write it up here on the board. We use the same password. You guys now have the kingdom to the keys to the kingdom. That's the user, that's the password. So if you're installing it in the lab and you need it, those are the And as I tell you about password security, remember that we don't really have the password written up on the board, right? This lab's a little different than most things. So installing, registering, it should take about 3 minutes to install. The weird thing is if you're doing it in the lab, it's probably already done because most of the computers in here are faster than the one I'm using up here. So that recording doesn't get... So it magically installed. And now I click, let's run it when we're done. And that is what VirtualBox looks like. The only thing you may get in the lab if you updated one is that. Yes. That is some pieces like if you're hooking in USB drives and some other things. So you end up with this, except you don't have a Windows 10 already installed. You have just a blank list on the side. And we will lead you through that once you guys get your installs done. Okay. Does it run? Or do you have to install it? I think on there still. You downloaded it? Okay, you still have to install it on here. It should just double click to install on there. There you go. Yes. You can't use, even if you have Windows 10 on your laptop, this is a different license and an entirely different operating system you're installing. So this is all living in a virtual sandbox environment. So, yes, I do want to install this. Let me quickly do that. So there's a couple reasons. Yes, I do want to upgrade. Yes, I didn't read all that. So, well, all right. So there are a couple of reasons we use virtual. One, it gives us that sandbox environment. B, once you get out into that corporate world, you're going to see the terms virtualization more and more. We no longer buy a physical server for everything we want to do. We have a couple of physical machines, and then we may upload 20, 40, 50 different virtual servers on that device. Now, on your own computer, you can't run that many. You can run a couple of operating systems at the same time. But on most servers now, this is how the world exists. And we can actually move these images from one machine to the other, and they're very powerful. So I'm going to stop here with VirtualBox installed because I know you guys haven't got it downloaded from the server yet, correct? I'm assuming? All right. So I'm going to go back in and talk about some of the other items this week that you're going to look at. So if I can find where I put Blackboard. There we go. All right, so week 2. So this is assignment B, and I have moved it to this week just to remind us a little bit about what we're going to do. So there is a quiz. You need to read chapter 2 in the text. There is an assignment, a couple of them here, that we need to work on and take a look at. So one of them is this assignment. We're talking about something called rootkits. And so there are several different pieces in your book that we're going to download and install, and you're going to run. You can run it on this machine in the lab. You can run it on your own machine. You can run it on anything that you have administrative access to. So in other words, I can run it anywhere on campus if I'm an on-campus student, but I can't run it in the lab or in the library at their lab because you don't have administrative rights. And so there is a project 2-2 at the end of the chapter, and there is a project 2-3, the GMAR. So both products go out and look for what's called a rootkit. So if your computer gets what we call rooted, and if you read in the book, you'll see more about it, that is actually installing some malware, malicious malware, that will start up and runs below the operating system or before the operating system starts in a lot of cases. And so it's very hard to detect and remove. So these standalone programs do a great job of trying to detect that. But you think, well, that's pretty malicious. Why would anybody do that? Well, here's the question. Why would Sony do that? There were, for a while, Sony discs. If you bought a DVD and tried to play it on your computer, it would actually install a rootkit on your computer. It would install operating system. And they got a lot of trouble for that. But so rootkits are one thing we have to worry about. Even more scary is this one here, a keylogger. Has any of you guys heard of a keylogger? You've seen them in the movies, right? You've seen it where, hey, I can plug this device in, or in Magic Land, when you watch something like NCIS or CSI, they magically remote around the world and they put in a keylogger. Well, they exist. And that's what we're going to show you here. These really do exist. And this one is one that we'll look at. That keylogger tracks everything that you type on a keyboard. So what kind of things do you type on your keyboard? Your username, your password, your bank account information? Yikes. So what if somebody has that? Are they able to get a lot of information about you? Yes. This is a software version. There are actually hardware versions. How many times do you look at where your keyboard plugs into your computer? Do you ever pay attention to that? If somebody got to your computer and they plugged in, it looks like a flash drive, so it plugs into your computer, and then at the end of that, your computer keyboard plugs in. So you've got a device maybe an extra inch long on that keyboard. Are you going to notice it? Most people don't. And so there are hardware versions of the same thing. So we're going to look at this assignment B really quickly. So if you will open up the chapter, if you have the physical book, or if you don't have the physical book, let me show you again where it's at. So we're going to go back and look at this project. So here's chapter 2. I'm going to open it in its own little window here. And I know it's back at the back. Notice we have the warnings, not for sale, not for sale. So there's a lot of interesting projects in the back of these. So there's our scan for rootkits. Here is 2-4 where we're going to install a rootkit or a logger right there. So notice we're going to go to spryrix.com. Now, what I will say about any of these books and any of the instructions, do these websites change after 3 years? So sometimes we have to modify the instructions a little bit to get there. So spryrix.com. If I spelled it right, it would be helpful. So this is a personal monitor. So this is very interesting because I can download it and I can buy this. If I click on the buy it now, so I can buy it for 3 PCs for $65. But here's the part over here. Do you think employees monitor what you're typing in cases? Is that a little creepy? Some of them monitor how many keystrokes for performance metrics. They also monitor for things, are you doing things like logging into Facebook when you should be at work and those kinds of things. So that one I can almost understand a little more than this personal monitor, because what they really sell that for is monitoring things like your spouses and children. It is a little sketchy and a little bit, if you thought your spouse was monitoring every keystroke you typed, I'm not sure what kind of foundation for a relationship that is. And even with your own kids, I would be a little leery of, are you really watching what they're doing? And so some of the things, if you look at the features, it'll actually, in some cases, you can get live viewing of what they have on their screen at any time. They don't know it happens even. So here's my employees. You can look at analytics. There's a lot of things in there. So again, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong for employers to do that. A lot of them do it, and there are some valid reasons to do it, but it's a little creepy. So you can look at it. You can buy it if you really want. I'm going to say if you're to this point of buying this in your relationship, your probably relationship's already got some issues. So, all right, so we are going to click on the download link, and we're going to click on the download button for this. So notice it doesn't have all the live viewing. It doesn't have all these things. It will monitor a clipboard, and it's got a few of the pieces, but again, we don't want to have to spend any money. And so we're going to download this, and it'll take a few seconds to download. And the more of you are downloading, the slower it gets, but that's okay. So now we're going to open the setup. And again, in the lab, you get this user account control. At home or on your own computer, you're not going to get that one. So in here to install this, it's lab user, and then Peru 2017 exclamation mark. So now we are installing this, and it's extracting. So we're going to pick English as our language. Keep having to drag these over. So we're going to click Next because, yes, we do want to install it. I'm going to click Next, Install, and it will take it a couple seconds here. Now, here's one I'm going to say uncheck. One of these things, anytime you get free software, even some paid software, whenever you get these boxes, you want to actually read what they're saying. So the first thing this says is, launch Spirex. Yep, okay, that I can get. But see our offers. That's how they justify that free one. They're getting vendors to offer quote-unquote ads for you. So I'm going to uncheck that and click Finish. It should pop up. Hello, slow computer. Well, let's force it to pop. All right, there we go. All right, so you come to, at the beginning, you get this wizard to start this out with. So I'm going to click Next. And you have to enter in an email, and it has to be a real email. So I'm going to use my peru.edu email. So the next piece is an account does not exist. Probably none of you have an account. So I'm going to click Yes, I do want to register it. The account was created and applied. So I will say if you have a throwaway email address, this is a pretty good one for that, or your campus one. All right, and now it's going to send a confirmation email. So I need to log into my webmail here real quick and say, yes, I really do want to do this. I want to activate. When I do that, it now pops up a web browser that looks like this after I clicked activate. And we have to set up a password. Here is what I would recommend for this class and this class only. I would recommend, as we go through here and we have to set up passwords in some of these accounts and different things, just to make it easier for all of you, I would say let's just always use the Peru 2017 exclamation mark. Is that safe and best practice? No. But we're going to uninstall most of this stuff right away after we use it. So that's what I'm going to set up mine with. If you don't do that, I would advise keeping like a little notebook with your passwords in there as you do it. So I'm going to save my password, and now I'm going to log in. And I don't care if... So what you see here, if I had the live version, I would be able to see what's going on that computer at every minute. I'm going to tuck it out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and click Next here. Because here I'm going to set up, some of my settings on the desktop application. So there are a couple of things here. So Control-Alt-A will pop this up and back and forth. If I'm installing this on my spouse's or employees' computers, are they even going to have that ability to get in there at all? No. But I want you guys to. So Peru 2017 exclamation mark. So notice this is a local account. So this is actually different, but I'm going to use the same password just to make my life easier. I'm going to click Next, and it's going to grind away for a second or two here. And I'm going to leave this default. When should the program make screenshots? All right, so here you can actually do a lot of different things. And I'm going to leave all of these unchecked because what they're doing is hiding this program, and I don't want to accidentally forget it that it's on this computer. Select users. You can leave all of those checked. I don't want to hide everything. I'm going to let it run, though, at Windows Startup. That means if somebody restarts their computer, it will start. All right, so now I'm in the main control panel. And I can see all different kinds of things in here. I can see what's happening on the keyboard. I can see screenshots. Normally you wouldn't see this portion. But it's got, you can block sites. So there are some good things to this. You can look at instant messaging activity. So notice if they use Skype, you're able to track everything they do in Skype. Here's your settings on how you look at in terms of, do I record sound? How would you like that if your employers were able to record every sound you made on your computer? You can actually do that with this. Or you can do that for your spouse, significant other, or anybody else. You can get that in there. You can schedule when it's working. All right, so it's started. It's sitting there right now, and I'm just going to close this out. When I close that, actually, I'm just going to minimize it so it sits on the bottom for now. So as I'm going into a site, so I'm going to go, it's actually looking at my activity. So I'm going to grab that tab that I had open over here before because I just saved it. So this is the one I created just a second ago. Oh, it's already got information about me. So you will see that depending on which one we look at, start of user session, that's when I just started that. And you can see what I've done. If I had the ability to record sound, you could do that. So this is from another another web application. This could be running on anything, any computer anywhere in the world, and now you're going to be able to see what we do. So if I follow the instructions then, so we can go through and you can finish that up because most of you have that in there now. So check online monitoring to set up that ability. Put your email addresses in. So it's got, the instructions are fairly clear for this one. So at the end of this, see if I still have that up, chunk. So at the end of this assignment, once you finish the rest of that, so you've got most of it done now, hopefully, is you're going to look at, and what you are going to turn in is you can screenshot that web view showing that you've captured data. You can screenshot it installed on the computer. I would ask in the lab that we uninstall it, but is that creepy? Did you guys realize how easy it was to do that? And none of you are experienced computer programmers in here, I don't think. And within 20 minutes, could you install this if you had a credit card on somebody's computer and they wouldn't even know it? Hopefully none of you do that. But that is how easy it is to get information out. Can I also package something like this in malware so that a piece of malware or a virus on your computer does exactly the same thing? So, my goal at the end of this class is to have you paranoid as all get out. So, all right. If you will join me and you can have a few minutes to finish this at the end of class, you should be able to get this particular one done pretty easily. If you go back to your file downloads, so hit the Windows and E key, has your download completed of Windows 10? No. Does it look like it's a long way from completing? Yes. All right. So in that case, I'm going to go back to another one we're going to look at, and you guys, we can look at that one. So the other assignment for this week, so assignment 2 here says we're going to install project 2.2, which to install and use Kaspersky TDS Killer. So I'm going to bring up the book, which I have in a tab somewhere in one of my 400 tabs I have open now. And that would be this one. So it's actually back up just a little bit. So we're trying to do as much of the hands-on pieces as what we can do here. So this particular program, oops, scroll back too far. So 2-2, scanning for rootkits. So we're going to actually grab this tool. And so rootkits are a problem. And we're going to go to this website here. So I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to cheat and copy. See if it'll work. And it's not going to let me because it's on that PDF. Hang on a second. Throw a window or two off to the side. Close that one. So it's support dot. Let me open that up really quickly. Support dot. Kaspersky. /viruses /disinfection /5350. All right, so when I type in that address, I end up at this site here, and I get a rootkit disinfecting program. So there's a lot of information about this particular kit. What they would really like you to do is click here and purchase and buy Kaspersky Antivirus. So we need to find the link for this. So virus removal tool, nope, we need the TDS killer. Why is it not on my list here? All right, so we're going to download this TDS killer. And so it does take a little bit of poking around to find. They don't really necessarily want to give it to you for free. I downloaded it. I'm going to click open and install. And again, I get an administration. And again, at home you won't, or on your own computer, but here, lab user, Peru 2017. So now I get the always handy license agreement that says anything we break is your fault. And I'll click accept. And once it's scanned, it gets through here, it's going to say, here's my start of my program. So I'm going to start it. And it will take some time to scan your computer, because it's going to go through and it's trying to see if there's anything that's classified as a rootkit. Will it find every piece of malware? No. It looks for a very targeted set of malware. So hopefully we don't find anything on this particular one. So again, what is a great way to document that you did this, take a screenshot and say, hey, we looked at it. So in this case, this one only looked at 590 objects. And there's probably 300,000 files in there. So we can change some of the settings, but I could screenshot that and say, yep, I went through and I did that on my particular computer. So the other one, close out of a couple things here. The other one you need to install and run is you're looking for one called ggamer.net. So open up another tab. So this particular one we can actually get here from a download here. This one's a little shorter and smaller program. So and again, it says, do I want to install lab user Peru 2017? If I can spell that, that would be helpful. There we go. And so this one looks like this, so I'm going to click scan. And it's going to look at some additional tools. But notice who apparently owns this company now. Any guesses? Avast. So it's actually owned by Avast. Little giveaway there down on the bottom. So again, that will scan. So then the other piece you need to do on there is you need to write a short paragraph about why do I need multiple detection tools for these kinds of events. And we haven't even talked about all the different malware that you can get out there. So there's a lot more different pieces out there that we haven't even started to grab. All right, so we'll let that run for a little bit, and then it hopefully will come up and say there's nothing there. And so in this case, we didn't find anything. I have had a few students not able to get that to execute in Windows 10 with the latest edition for whatever reason. So if that happens and it pops up an error, screenshot the error and you can turn that in and say, hey, this program didn't run. Again, we're not trying to get to a giant depth of knowledge. We're trying to get a breadth of knowledge. So if you have an issue, let me know. Oh. All right. Since Windows 10 is downloading really slowly for most of you, we're going to go do invalid account credentials. Interesting. Sign in. All right, I'm going to look at MindTap really quickly and show you a couple of pieces in MindTap. So there are some instructions videos in week 1. You have to use that link to actually enroll the first time because it points to the right class. So this is our class inside of what's called MindTap. So Cengage now has a product called MindTap. We are going to concentrate on what are called lab connections inside of there. They have moved a set of programs inside of this. So the easiest way to get there is to change the views. So at the very top here, so notice where it says it's got the unit view, and here I can look at the data manager view. And I like the data manager view, so I think it's easier to come in and see. There is limited customization of what I can show and can't make you see. I can add dates and some other things, but I can't say I want to hide this and I want to show this. It's either kind of an all or nothing affair at this point. So, for example, here is Lab 1-1, the lab for Chapter 1. And if I click on it, it opens up in a speedy fashion. And I can start the assignment now. Notice I am not very good at it because it says it's already my 4th try at this assignment. Load. And why is it not loading on this computer? Get flash. Allow. All right, so there's a little button. I couldn't see it on that monitor. It says allow flash at the top. So this one is essentially some questions and answers, so I can click through. So it's just really designed to reinforce. Now there are more advanced ones as we go through, and we're going to show you a couple of other things that they have in there. So that is Lab Connections 1. Not a horrible thing to have to do. So to get back out of there, I hit that close button. I'm back in this view. But what is interesting is inside of here is also lecture notes, reviews, PowerPoints, interactive quizzes that you can take to practice. But they have created a set of lecture notes for a lot of this content. So instead of me talking about it, sometimes we will just let the author speak. And I don't think I can record and show you what's the voice there, but so you can see that. And there is over on the right hand side, if I can remember which one it is, this link actually has the entire book on electronic format. So you don't need to carry around that textbook. It's actually tucked all inside of MindTap right here. So you can actually get to any particular place you want in the book. So once you have this purchased, you can use the book to read. You don't necessarily need to have it available every minute if you need to go look something up. So that's what some of the pieces are inside of there. So there are some other ones we're going to look at, but we're not going to necessarily grade because I want to look at them. There have actually got some additional readings and some other things I may point out, and I will try to make it very obvious. So here's one about Madonna Hospital. But here again, there's more. So if I scroll down, I think it's easier to see them this way, where we now have Lab 2.1. We are also going to show you these, bless you, what's called these live virtual machine labs. So they are bringing out another product on top of Lab Connections where we're actually interacting with, they have virtual machines set up on a server and we can actually interact with them. So in this case, they'll look like slowly as it goes. They're anywhere, sometimes some of these assignments have 4 to 6 virtual machines you're all interacting with, if it will ever load. Part of the problem, and the reality is why I didn't create an assignment around these, is sometimes they load very, very slowly. And it's going to, see if I can get it to come back. It probably says that's about my 700th time of trying this one. So this is a newer feature that's not quite ready for prime time, I think. And hopefully when the new version comes out next year, we'll be able to do a lot of the stuff on here and you can actually interact with a little more. So clearly that's working well. So that's why we didn't throw those out there. But there are a lot of other things. So PowerPoints, there's even, if you want to practice with crossword puzzles, you can actually do it this way. So you can actually look at, and it will actually check and you can look at solutions. None of those are graded. They're just a handy way to look at content that's available on here. So there's flashcards and all different kinds of stuff. So there is a ton of material out there. Which model fits you better? Does studying the book 12 times work better for you? Does listening to the lecture? I will do some lecture about specific topics and answer questions, but a lot of that's in there, and these guys are really good at what they do. So there is a ton of material in there. And again, this view up here, I think, is an easier way for you to view that particular activity. So if you haven't been in MindTap and looked around, make sure you've done that and you've done the Lab Connection 1 as soon as possible. Move that out of the way. All right. Any chance anybody's got Windows 10 downloaded yet? No. Great. All right. So I will give you the rest of class to finish up those 2 assignments. You should be able to get all those done and turned in for, let me find the right piece. Probably have too many things open to find it again. The rootkits and the Spirix, you can probably both get done before the end of class today.